So today we have another wonderful opportunity to correct some very bad relationship advice from the internet.
Here we go!
This time it comes from a viral video with over 12 million views on Twitter and who knows how many on other platforms, which features a young woman explaining the math behind what she has dubbed breakupology. Now, many comments, mostly from women, have hailed this as a brilliant analysis of relationship dynamics. They say that there is a lot of wisdom and insight into, in this video, a lot we can glean from it. And they are, of course, wrong about that, and I'll explain why. But first, here's the video.
If you're a boy who has ever been dumped by your girlfriend for seemingly no apparent reason and you're looking for answers, this is what happened. Okay, this is you guys. You guys are in a happy relationship, and now all of a sudden you have one simple, fixable problem. For this example, we're going to use no good morning text. And your girlfriend who loves you, she's really happy with you. She comes to you and she tells you, she's like, hey, do you think we could start doing good morning texts? Like, it'd mean a lot to me if you text me good morning. So you, her loving boyfriend, agree to give her good morning texts. But something happened, and for whatever reason, you stopped giving her good morning texts. So now we have a bigger problem. She now thinks that you don't care enough about her to send her good morning texts, even though she asked. But she's going to be like, you know what, this is still kind of a small problem. I'm just going to remind him. She reminds you, you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. I did agree to that. Okay, I will text you good morning. Unfortunately, though, you didn't follow through again. Now we have confirmed that you do not care enough to text her good morning, even though this is a simple, fixable problem. This is now a big problem. So now your girlfriend, who has never picked fights before in her life, starts picking a bunch of little fights about all these different things because she believes that you do not care enough. Through all of these picking fights with you, though, she still loves you and likes you enough to want to be with you, even though you guys have all these little problems now. Until one day, these become unattractive to her. She's going to realize that all of these little things that you do that remind her that you don't care about her enough are unattractive. And so now the problem is not these things. It's not even that you don't care enough. It's not even that she never got good morning texts. It's that she literally does not like you anymore. Does not like you. Now, unfortunately, she has to break up with you.
Okay, so this is all wrong.
Mama's wrong again.
Now, to be clear, this TikTok girl isn't wrong when she says that, women sometimes operate this way in a relationship. That is true, but she's wrong in the deeper implications, as we'll get into. The first problem becomes apparent about 3 seconds into the video. I don't know anything about this girl, but I'm going to assume, I think quite safely, that she has not been married for 10 plus years. Okay, I don't know anything, but I think we can assume that. I'm guessing she isn't married at all. And as you know, if you listen to this show, that one of my basic fundamental rules when it comes to this sort of thing is that you simply cannot take any relationship advice at all, ever, from anyone who has never had sustained, meaningful success in a relationship. And sustained, meaningful success must mean, just to start with, that they have been married to one person and stayed married for at least several years. Taking relationship advice from someone who has only dated a succession of random people and never moved to the next stage with any of them, it's like taking advice on wilderness survival from someone who has never even camped out in their backyard. You're going to promptly ignore everything else I say on the subject. Of course you will. In fact, it would be suicidal to take my advice with you into the wilderness. And the same goes for relationships. The only people who should ever be giving advice about romantic relationships are those who are married, have been married for several years, and preferably have kids. Because that means that those of us in that camp have successfully moved a relationship from first introduction to dating, to engagement, to marriage, to family life. And we've been tested along the way, and we've endured, and we've gained experience and insight that might be useful. It doesn't mean we're right. We could still be wrong, obviously. And of course, someone who's been married for 8 years might be divorced by next week. Like, we all understand that. But so it's not that all married people have great relationship wisdom. It's just that only married people have great relationship wisdom. So if you're going to hear great relationship advice from anyone, they're going to be married, which doesn't mean that all of them have that advice, but the category of, like, that's the only category where you're going to get the good advice from. Now, some 22-year-old whose longest relationship was 6.5 months just has nothing interesting or useful to offer here. It's like you don't know anything. You haven't done anything. You've never demonstrated any ability to have any form of success in this world. So why would you think that you're in a position to give anyone advice about it? Now, since we have that established, we'll move to the video. Okay, she describes a scenario where a woman decides that she wants something from her boyfriend, good morning texts in this case, and she doesn't get it consistently enough, and so she starts inventing other problems and complaining about those until she decides one day that her boyfriend's failure to comply has made him unattractive, and she breaks up with him, only to, she doesn't say this part, but invariably, this girl moves on to the next guy and repeats the process again and again and again, et cetera, and so forth, unto infinity. Again, she's correct that some women, certainly not all, do function this way, but what she doesn't mention and doesn't seem to realize, presumably because she is this kind of woman herself, is that what she has described here is incredibly toxic, narcissistic, shallow behavior, and the girlfriend in this scenario is just wrong. The only mistake the boyfriend made was in not pulling the plug and breaking up with her much earlier. So let's go through the red flags that this hypothetical woman is waving around here. Red flag number 1, she gave her boyfriend an assignment, okay? Now, asking him to do good morning texts, as silly as that might be, is not wrong in and of itself. She's allowed to want things in the relationship, even silly things. It's true that, she wants to feel loved and valued, and she should feel that way, just as he should. But in this scenario, she asks for good morning texts, she gets them, and it's fine. And then life intervenes, as it does. The guy has a few mornings where he forgets to send a text, and she gets mad, okay? And he starts doing the text again. And then after a while, he misses a few days, and she gets mad again. What we see here is that this is not about the texts, and it's not about feeling loved or valued, because at this point, you're just berating him and harassing him and nagging him for this little thing that you want. It's not about, if he does it, it's at this point, he's only doing it to shut you up. It's not, you're not, it doesn't show that you're loved. He's just complying. So when you're demanding this rather meaningless ritual and have no tolerance for a lack of compliance, what you're really looking for is not love, but obedience. Subordination is what you're looking for. It's easy to see this if you just reverse the roles. That's all you got to do. If this was a man drawing up a complicated graph explaining why he gets angry when he doesn't receive a good morning text on schedule every morning from his girlfriend, everybody, and especially every woman celebrating this video without exception, would agree that that man is toxic, manipulative, overbearing, and insecure, and probably abusive. Now, it's true, of course, that men and women are different, and so this reverse the roles thing doesn't work in every case, but manipulativeness and narcissism are bad no matter which sex is engaging in it. Red flag number 2, the woman starts picking other petty fights just as a way of venting her frustration over this other thing, which is also petty. This is called being a selfish, immature, incredibly unpleasant person. It's just not okay. So again, if you're a woman and you say, oh yeah, I do that when I'm upset, you shouldn't do that. You're wrong for doing that. You are just wrong. It's inexcusable to do that. Starting fights on purpose, intentionally, because you're upset about something else is a very bad thing to do. It's very immature, it's childish, and you should not do that. Starting the fights constantly, not just once, but constantly. And if you're doing that, the problem is you every time, period. If you are starting a fight on purpose, you are automatically wrong about the substance of the fight. Okay, you're the bad guy in the situation. Especially in this case, as one of the fights on the graph is, and I quote, didn't remember her dog's birthday. Now, I hope I don't need to tell you this, men, but if you're dating a woman who expects you to remember the birthday of any non-human creature, you need to break up with her immediately. Don't even wait till this podcast is over. I want you to pause it right now, call her and just say, I break up, and then hang up and move on with your life and finish the podcast, okay? Red flag number 3. This woman decides that she doesn't like her boyfriend anymore because of his alleged failures in a bunch of areas that mean almost nothing objectively. This woman who loved her boyfriend can apparently have that love extinguished by a lack of texting and the fact that he forgot to put her dog's birthday into his Google Calendar. Well, what exactly does the word love mean if this is the sort of thing that can destroy it? In what sense did she ever love her boyfriend? It's not a rhetorical question, by the way. I'd love to hear this girl explain how this woman in this scenario loved her boyfriend. What do you mean he loved her? She loved her. Him. In what way? What does that mean? Because I would say that if your love hinges on text messages, then your love doesn't exist and never did. Which brings us to red flag number 4. Finally, you notice the thing that is never mentioned anywhere in this whole breakupology equation. We never hear what the woman is actively doing to maintain the relationship with the man. Demanding that the guy do things for you doesn't count as you making an effort in the relationship. So if you're listing all the things that you're doing to make an effort and they're all just, I asked you to do this, I asked you to do that, I asked you, you're not doing anything. You're asking him to do everything while you do nothing. What are you doing? What requests of his are you fulfilling? How would you react if he made a request like that? Would you be insulted by it, just in principle? But, oh, you want me to do this thing that I find irrelevant and you want me to do it every day? I'm not doing that. Is that how you would react? How are you making him feel loved and valued? Have you even thought about that? Do you feel any responsibility to be as attentive to him as you expect him to be to you? This is a good general rule. If you are reviewing all the problems in your relationship, if you're listing them out on paper, let's say, and every single problem, if you're a woman and you're doing this, and every single problem starts with he did this, he didn't do that, that's a pretty solid indication that the problem is not him. It's you. You haven't even considered your own role. You haven't even attempted to reflect on your own failures at all. And that's why you're really breaking up. It's not the texts. It's not the dog's birthday. It's you. That's it. And that is why this breakupology formula is today canceled.